Hey everybody, Pete A. Turner coming at you here, asking you to check out my technology podcast called Popping the Bubble. There's no E on the end of bubble, B-U-B-B-L. Sandra Ponce de Leon and I, we get in and we demystify what's going on in the Silicon Valley. You want to know where we're headed? Come check us out.
This is Mick Gillette.
This is Jay Moore.
This is Greg Proops.
This is Gabby Reese.
This is Nate Boyer.
This is Hilliard Guest.
This is Nathan
This
East.
is Rob Bell.
This is J.R. Robinson.
This is Dan Stone.
This is Dr. Bob Greenberg.
Hey, this is John Leon Guerrero.
Hey, I'm Mark Valley.
Hey, and this is Pete A. Turner.
All right, this is Geoffrey D Calhoun, the founder of We Fix Your Script, and this is the Break It Down Show.
And now, the Break It Down Show with John Leon Guerrero, Mark Valley, and Pete A. Turner.
Yes, and we are doing what we do sometimes. We are recording from the truck studio. I have Geoff with me here down in L.A. Mark is out on location, of course, as always, doing some film magic. And John is building people's dreams and investigating crimes like he likes to do. So I've got the pleasure of having Geoff in the truck, and I wish we had these things on this morning when we were really getting into some good stuff.
Yeah, it was good stuff.
Yeah, but either way, we're going to capture some things. Now, in full clarity, I want to make sure I let you guys know that Geoff is a client. We support him because he supports something that we believe in and we are actively doing. His company is called We Fix Your Script. Geoff will give you 15 minutes of his time to discuss that script that you have buried deep in your heart that you want to get out and help you get going. And if you decide to go forward, of course, he offers services to help you create that script, even if it's up to and including writing it. So if you're in the mind of ever getting a screenplay out of your head, or a teleplay, or a play, or
a TV pilot,
right.
web series.
Do you do libretti?
So many. Huh?
Do you do libretti? Do you do you help librettists, people writing the words for the opera?
You know, I think if it was a few hundred years ago, we would be wefixyouropera.com.
Yeah.
But right now we're just doing
focused.
Yeah.
Focused on the lower arts. I see how it is.
Yes.
This is not meant to be an infomercial. This really is the conversation, because what I've realized from talking to Geoff is that he's fascinating, has compelling things to say about a variety of topics. We are going to kind of be theming. One of the things I'm doing starting on December 1st, and we'll see how far I get through this project, but my plan is to write a screenplay. I've never done it before. I've got a couple different ideas in my head. And so Geoff said, well, quit talking about it and start writing about it.
You just got to do it.
Yeah, so he helped me formulate some of the work that I need to do over the next few weeks, and I'm going to start to put this thing together, and you'll hear about this journey along the way. So thank you for helping me get started on this thing.
Oh, it's my pleasure, man. I love doing this stuff, and I truly feel that, everybody has at least one good story in them, if not more. And the cool thing about screenwriting is, I look at it as more of a craft that can become an art.
Mm-hmm.
So anybody can do it. Anybody can learn a craft. Anybody can learn woodworking.
Right.
Anybody can learn to write a screenplay.
So when someone does, we all have ideas. I think we agree on this. Everybody's got a great book in them, and they have an idea they at least need to get out of them. What are some of the barriers that you've come across as someone who consults writers?
Some of the barriers that I've come across, from my learning how to write, or things that I'm starting to see right now from writers.
from the people that bring story to you. What do they struggle with?
Right now, what I'm seeing really popular is people are struggling with focus.
Okay.
They're overwhelmed. They have too many choices. They don't know direction of where to go, and that actually paralyzes their storytelling. And with the 15-minute consultation I've been getting with people, a lot of it is just helping to focus the direction of their screenplay and showing them different tools and avenues of what to do, really helping them simplify the message they want to come across their story.
Yeah, I definitely feel that. I've got well, two ideas that I want to work on. I've got a bunch of other ones, but two that are there, and they sort of, and we've talked about this, they sort of weave together, and you're encouraging me to, go one direction and maybe bring other elements in. And it's a lot. But one of the things you did do for me is help me see that if I just focus on 27 particular actions,
Yeah.
and that was a number we did with some math and everything, but basically to create a movie, if I have these 27 things, now I can write from that point, and I can draw them out, and you can start to see the structure coming together. And you're going to have to rewrite these things, but what are the other simple things? I mean, 27 points seems like a lot, but then you're like, yeah, but it's 3 acts, and in each act you have 8 to 9 things happening, kind of thing.
Yeah. So what you got? I mean, that's called the step outline, and what you're going to do is you're going to break it into 3 acts, like Act 1, Act 2, Act 3, and then you're going to do 9 to 10 points per act, because you're going to equate each one of those points as a particular type of scene or moment that we want to hit. And those will be anywhere from like 1 to 3 pages long. So if you do approximately the math, right, you start looking at you're getting close to almost 30 pages per act. And then by the time you do all 27 points to 30 points, you've got your full screenplay fully outlined, and it gives you direction. And the great thing about this is you don't have to be married to it. You could wake up tomorrow and decide, I don't think this is right for me. You just hit the backspace button, or you scratch that bad boy out and replace it with a different moment or scene that you like even better.
What are some of the misconceptions that people have, like when it comes to writing? I was talking with a friend the other night, and they were saying, well, I know, I said, there's rules. They're like, well, I don't, rules be damned. It's my story. But there really is, funny. Like, it's like a house. Like, yeah, build whatever kind of, you want to build a yurt? That's fine. There's still, there's still rules to building a yurt. Especially if you want someone else to pay for your movie to get made. There's some input that they get to have. What are some of the things that we don't realize that maybe we do or don't have to do?
I think with screenwriting, we all watch movies, we all love movies, and everyone that's, you've watched movies your whole life, so you start thinking, I can write that, and that's true, you can, but screenwriting is a deceptive art, because it seems simple, when in actuality it's very complex, and has a lot of, as you would say, rules to it, but a lot of different things that you want to keep in consideration when you're creating your script, like character's motivation, challenges your character goes through, the arc of your character, or as some actors or as a lot of actors like to say, the through line. Right. These are all things that you keep in line, and then you have to put in things like the B plot, that is the emotional heart of the film, and subplots that are supposed to reinforce your main plot. There's so many things. And then people in certain systems even break that down to particular page numbers that these things have to come in. I don't even subscribe to that thought. I think that there's a general area of ways to weave in subplots, B-plots, and the particular journey of the character. Whoa. Yeah. And sorry, this guy's like almost cut us off. Yeah. Yeah. So he would be an antagonist. Yeah. So, but I think there's a far more natural way to work them into the script, instead of saying by page 3 you have to have this happen. Right.
Yeah. And those are some of the rules that you can break, but there is a requirement to know the rules going into these things. It isn't. Anybody can do anything they want to do, for the most part, but you don't get to come in at a professional level. Writing is challenging, and I'm sure, you've had success, you've won awards, you've gotten paid. I mean, that's the best award of all, is to get paid to write things.
That's the hardest one to get.
What would you say? Look, there are people that sit down, write, and they have something that someone will pay money for. That's not the norm.
Right.
The norm is it's a lot of work. You've got to develop. You're going to have to rewrite. Not to discourage people, but to encourage them and give them some idea. What is a fair expectation? What does it take to be someone who can write something that somebody else will put their time or money into?
I would say that's a really interesting question. I would say in order to write and to become productive or prolific, I mean, you have to have discipline, right? So you have to make the effort to say, I'm going to write 2 hours a day, or today I'm going to write, 2 to 3 pages, and stick with that pace. Over time, you will start to develop and create that skill, which is no different than the leather workers of old, where they would start making leather products and things like that, or armorers. So you start to kind of develop that skill and get better at it.
Sure.
And then when you want to start talking about writing a script, which we would call in the industry a killer script, right? A killer script is the script that gets attention from people and raises some eyebrows of interest. Now you have to start looking at a whole different type of thing. Is your script going to speak to a wide audience? Does your script talk about humanity and like challenges of people go through on a broader scale?
Right.
Things like feeling lost, or feeling insecure, or feeling powerless, or any type of these themes that as humans we all feel in our life. If you touch on things like that, then we start getting into, okay, now you're touching on a subject that people want to learn and experience, because movies, it reminds me of Aristotle. Like Aristotle talked about poetics, or operas, as you would say, being a point of catharsis, because the plays would express emotion and feelings and troubles that we all go through and get resolved at the end. And as they build up to the end, the audience actually gets to release that stress in their lives.
Right.
So in screenplays, I mean, that's our job. If you can write a script that speaks to people for what they're going through and kicks and hits a wide audience, and you dance their emotions through it, and they get that cathartic relief in the end, then you're in a good place.
One of the things that's always struck me in across not just genre but across like disciplines of different things is how so much of what we do direct line, there's a through line all the way back to the Greeks, to the Sumerians in a lot of cases, like back as far as we know. There's people to go back to, and like the sitcom is a Greek invention. Is that Euripides that wrote the yeah, he was great at that. And let me see if I can impress you with my knowledge of Euripides. But it's like Three's Company. You set a premise, you create a conflict, and you resolve it all in a short, multi-act performance, and in this case a 22-minute teleplay. But that's off a model that's 2,500 years old.
The thing about writing, and I really love that you brought this up, writers, we haven't really changed the type of struggles we go through or the way that we act, because writing is so difficult, because you're bearing open your soul, right, and you're putting it on page, and it takes a lot of guts to be able to do that, to write from the heart, and to write from a place of vulnerability.
Right.
So I always tell people, read Aristotle's Poetics. It's fascinating. It's the very first book that came out about writing in general. And Aristotle was a writer's writer. And I'm gonna tell you a little story. He talks about examples of bad plays. One thing he mentions is spectacle, and how bad plays rely on spectacle. And back then, spectacle was something that would be considered choruses and big song numbers, right? And today we would of course consider it special effects. Right. Special effects is the modern day spectacle. So he talks about a writer of an opera that just relied on spectacle. It was a few brief acts and then big loud numbers, and he talks mad shit about this guy.
Yes.
And I'm like, this is Aristotle. This sounds like half the writers I know. You know? Then you do a little bit more research, and you find that the guy he was talking about has been lost to time.
Oh, wow.
And I'm just fascinating, like, this guy, he really knew his stuff.
Yeah, it is fascinating. And that same thing exists. I mean, there's people that write for pop. There's people that write for art, and there's people that sort of write in between. I would imagine. And there's some storytellers out there that write it. Like documentarians. I think would fall into that category. But again, all of these things are all of the storylines really are ancient. And every movie you make, it's like, oh yeah, that's like this. Whether you want it to be or not, it's
absolutely.
like that thing.
Yeah.
That's always, what is it, seven stories or whatever it is.
Yeah, and there's nothing wrong with using archetypes. I mean, archetypes are there for a reason.
Right.
It's taking the archetype and making it original and putting your own voice into it, your own soul into it, and saying something that speaks to a lot of people. That's how it gets noticed.
Is one of the things I've learned professionally in general is that ego gets in the way a lot.
Man.
Ego protects you from fear.
Yeah.
But ego is not an actor. And I mean, I don't mean in the sense of like, I'm an actor, but like it's not an action-based thing. It's a protector. If my ego is in the way of my ability to partner with an Afghan leader, and I need to succeed, my ego is going to allow me to think that I'm succeeding when I haven't actually taken the time to do the work, because failure is a real possibility in Afghanistan. How does that relate to writing?
I think your observation of ego being protecting from fear is very insightful. And I think that's fantastic. I haven't really heard it put in that perspective. I think that's beautiful. With screenwriting, when you make yourself vulnerable to writing something and putting it out there, I mean, you have to think of the gumption it takes to write something and then send it to someone and say, I created this world. Yes. Read this.
Right.
It takes huge balls. And then you're naturally going to be defensive of this product that you've created when it comes back. When you get feedback and realize that, unfortunately, you're not the next John August.
Yeah.
And then you're going to go, but you don't understand my brilliance. I mean, that's the first thought you have, of course. Right. Yes. And then, once you let that go and start looking at it and go, okay, I think they're onto something. And one great way to do that is to get feedback from multiple people.
Right.
Right. You want to get feedback from at least 3 people, or feedback from a professional that knows what they're doing.
Yeah.
And then you look for the similarities.
That's actually, that's again, across disciplines. This is another thing too. Same thing with what I do. I check my sanity. I check my facts. Like, this seems to be facts, but sometimes you get lost. It sounds crazy, and maybe not that crazy in this world right now, but you can think something is a fact, but really it's an observation and how you've interpreted it. And someone else can say, no, that's not actually that might be a reality, but it does not make it a fact, because if that fact is true, this other thing is also true.
Yes.
So as you try to balance out multiple realities and communicate, you are once again talking about how crazy it is to think that you can retell one of the 7 classic stories in a way that hasn't been done, and is compelling crazy. And is worth $40 million of someone's time and money. It
sounds like a crazy endeavor, but it is an endeavor that we as writers must do. Right. You have to do it. You have to say, I need to write. That's when you know you're a writer, when you feel the compulsion to write. And when you do that, you have to sit down and say, okay, I'm going to write this. I'm going to base this story. I'm going to use the Romeo and Juliet archetype or whatever, and go from there and put your cool spin on it.
Yeah.
I wrote a really cool screenplay that was based on The Prince and the Pauper.
Right. Okay.
And but I did it in a relatively new way, where the Prince and the Pauper, they switch lives and stuff.
Yeah.
But I threw in so many interesting things, where the Pauper, for instance, falls in love with the prince's wife and things like that, and then you mix in some moments from today's society of the differences between the wealthy and the poor, and then you start talking about interesting moments about society and
and life.
and life.
Yeah, you mix in society and life, and
Yeah.
you start to put something together. The one of the questions I wanted to ask you is, if you are an emerging, I guess that's the kind word we like to use, an emerging writer.
Sure.
You're not quite sure if you're a writer, but you definitely have a story in you that you need to get out. That doesn't make you a writer. That makes you someone with a story. We all should have one.
Mm-hmm.
And if not, get to getting, because getting a story is part of the fun. You're trying to figure out if you're a writer and you're going to write this screenplay, or at least get started on it. Let's say that you genuinely have something that you can find a partner to take that script to market. And let's not underestimate the challenge, completely different challenge of getting a script sold. So let's just
That's a whole different thing.
Yeah. So let's say that you can find someone that's like, I like what you've done here, right? Let's say you can get over, and that is a significant hurdle.
Okay.
But that doesn't mean you're going to sell your script. But that also doesn't mean that you can't be a successful emerging writer, without having actually optioned a script.
Right.
What kind of things does an early writer get to do to be successful?
So we're talking about them already optioning the script?
No, if they haven't, like
you haven't optioned a script yet. Yeah.
Exactly.
So like where you can go from there. I would suggest writing that script, getting coverage on it, making sure that it's the best possible version it can be, and then I would start throwing that bad boy at film festivals, screenplay competitions.
Okay.
I would throw them at, I would do my research on Film Freeway and Without a Box, and I would make sure I'm going to film festivals that, or to screenplay contests that are in film festivals. Right.
Okay.
And then I would throw it to as many as I could. Of course, check the reviews and make sure, because I've went to a couple where I was nominated for best screenplay, and I get there and there's like 15 people.
Yeah.
At the festival, and here, I bought a ticket, flew down to LA.
Right.
I'm down there with my wife, and I'm like, you know what? This is going to be a date night.
Yeah.
We just leave we just leave the film festival.
Right.
And go have a hell of a night.
Let me clarify this a little bit. Yeah. So there are people like they had a podcasting conference down here in Anaheim. I don't know, maybe 4 or 5 months ago, and like, yeah, everybody should come down. Learn so much about podcasting. Sunday, and it's $600
Holy cow!
And it's like, are you going to answer the golden question? How do I monetize this thing?
Wow.
Or not? And they're like, we're going to have speakers. Like, we're all speakers. Let's just clear this up.
That's funny.
Why is this worth $600?
Yeah.
Oh, you're in for the Podcaster of the Year award, which I'm not, but let's just say that there's a Podcaster of the Year award, right?
Okay, we'll say I am.
Yeah. And then what you're saying is you go to show up and they're like, you're one of 20.
Yeah.
And like, I bought a
my
ticket
God.
to come and get your stupid fucking award that you don't. Like, do you even know who I am?
Yeah.
Or did you just sell me a ticket by nominating me, and this thing's been in Adam Carolla's hands the whole time? Let's just be real. So,
Yeah.
but there are legitimately places where you can put your work in, and you can have your script continue to compete.
Absolutely.
And this is the best, because a lot of these things, and tell me where I get sideways on this, and I learned a lot of this from our brother that we love so much, Hilliard Guess, and you guys should definitely listen to his show.
Good show.
Screenwriter's Rant Room. Yeah, you'll learn so much. Sometimes you just learn about having a good time, because Hilliard and those guys all get together. And
I love the way they break down stuff.
But they really do put a lot of work in, and they illustrate things that I promise you don't know, and that show is so good. Even if you're not into screenwriting, I defy you not to find an episode that is just fantastic.
Mm-hmm.
It's so almost all of us love movies and stories and watch TV. You will enjoy learning about how these people see things and the issues that are important to them, and just it's such a fascinating thing. So definitely check out the Screenwriter's Rant Room. I'll put a link in it on the page.
So yeah, with contests, you can, you have like lower, middle, and upper tier levels, right? So you've got the lower ones, which are they're kind of like in hotel conference rooms. And you have the middle ones that open up venues and theaters and stuff like that. And then you have the big ones where you're talking about, Tribeca, Sundance, stuff like that.
Right.
So I tell people start a little low just to see where your screenplay falls.
Right.
And then go for the middles.
Yeah.
Start looking at the venues. If it's at a venue in Vegas, go for that one. If it's a venue in LA and it looks like it's in a big theater, go
Right.
for that one. Check the reviews out, read them. And if you're even selected or nominated for an award,
Right.
you already look good.
Yeah, you're doing something. And you also, the people that judge this are pros.
Yeah.
And these are people that are looking for scripts to option or work on, or writers that create things. So, I mean, by entering these things, you really are winning, and in a way that is fantastic. Instead of trying to cold call, you're going to a place where they're like, let's see what you got. And if you've got something good, they're actually going to read it. You know?
Yeah.
And a lot of them, and not all of them, but a lot of them, they actually give you notes and say, here's what I would work on this script.
Oh, yeah.
They're giving you the answer.
Yeah, absolutely. And I would look at, I mean, right now, no one's really taking anything unsolicited.
Right.
So as a screenwriter, you get stuck in this holding pattern of, I want to get stuff out there, but I don't have an agent, and I
Right.
don't have an agent because I don't have stuff out there.
Right.
And and you're stuck like that for a long time. So you start going to film festivals. You start making connections and networking at screenplay festivals where you're placed or you've been selected, and if you win, you look even better. And you start, meeting producers and directors and other writers and people you could potentially collaborate with.
We're talking to Geoffrey D Calhoun, who is the CEO of WeFixYourScript.com.
I'm the founder.
The founder. Sorry. You are the founder of WeFixYourScript.com.
I went with founder because I feel that the company, the business itself, it has a foundation that is about supporting screenwriters.
Yeah.
And so I didn't want to go with CEO or anything like that.
Right.
Because we're down in the ground. We're with you.
Yeah, and you've helped me get started with where I'm at. I've actually got words on a screen, not just in my head now, and a direction. And not to...
It feels good, right?
Yeah, I know. It feels great. I really... Look, I write a lot already anyhow. You can read my answers on Quora. I write academic articles. I run my damn mouth on Facebook way too much. So all of the... I'm writing something all the time anyhow. So I'd like to pick a new venue and just flex some muscle and see how I do. I have no expectation of selling my movie, but I certainly won't get sold if it's in my head.
Right.
So, you write it down and you see what happens. And what I dig about what you guys do is all of you guys have had scripts optioned. You've all been asked to save a movie, save our movie, help us screen, like what they call a page one rewrite, like this
page one rewrite.
Yeah, it's not going the way we want it to.
We've got a strong crew.
There's no doubt.
We've got people that are, they do drama, action, thriller, horror. We've got genre. We've got comedy writers. They're all fantastic. They all share the same vision. That's why I wanted to bring them together and offer a service to people that isn't really being done right now. You can get general feedback from screenwriters, but it's hard to find a service that is specific to a genre you write, and that is exactly what we do.
You were talking earlier about advancing the art.
Yeah.
It makes me think about how different art forms advance. There's at one point in time, and it was a long, long time ago, over 100 years, maybe it was Wagner, maybe it was Mozart, maybe it was Beethoven. They wrote the best opera, and it was the peak in terms of the quality of the opera, the accessibility to the biggest crowds. Like, that time has passed. Like, people still go to opera, but you are not going to have 6 hour longs.
No.
In the middle of, I don't know if you know this, in the middle of the show, they would say, that shit was so good, wind it back right fucking now and do it again. I can't take it.
Is that during the candlelit?
Right, exactly, right? Where they had nothing to do but sit there. Right. So they're like, play it again.
Play it again.
We'll never be in that era again. You might write a great opera. It's not that you won't, but you won't be part of a group effort to peak up that art form.
You're a few hundred years late.
Right. The era of the great bands, the Beatles, the Stones, U2, all these, Bon Jovi, all these bands that have sold 100+ million albums, that era has closed.
Yes.
There has been a peak already. Yes, your band will absolutely hit and blow up, but it'll be singular, and it won't be a peer group of 10, 15 bands along the way.
No.
So how does screenwriting, it must advance. What does that look like?
The way I look, screenwriting is an art that is interesting because it advances through subtraction. What happens is, as writers, we are constantly looking to make it more and more efficient. For instance, back in the day, everything had establishing shots in it. You'll never see an establishing shot nowadays. Sounds were capitalized. You don't even have to do it anymore. You used to have big, huge action blocks. Now they're, no more than 4 lines.
Mm-hmm.
But on top of that, I'd say another thing is a genre. Each genre kind of has their peak and then disappears for a while, and a different one takes its place. For instance, I feel that we're on the downturn of the zombie genre.
Right.
I think we're going to start seeing a lot more demonic possession, or actually, I really think creature features are making a return. And you're going to see that with other stuff as well, like superhero genre. People think I'm crazy when I say this, but I think it's going down. I think once you start seeing films like Deadpool come out that are actively parodying a genre film, that starts to signify that audiences are kind of getting full and looking for something different.
Yeah. We're seeing what I call the tertiary superheroes. The Flash, and Flash is one of my absolute favorites. But when he's leading a movie, or he's co-leading a movie, it means that we've told the Superman story, we've told Batman, and we're running out of story ideas, and we're having to get bigger and bigger things.
Mm-hmm.
And you're getting to the Ocean's 27 problem, where you're like, seriously, more stars, more.
Yeah.
Like the bad Batman movies at the end of the first run in the 90s.
Oh man, those are glorious.
Yeah. Right.
You're in trouble with a Batman movie when they start advertising to you about the beautiful color palette.
Right. Yes. Yeah.
You remember that?
Just so, no, absolutely. You're like, you picked Jim Carrey, and then you jammed a bunch of stars around him. Like, I want Jim Carrey to be the Riddler. I do. I think it's great.
But not that Riddler.
Yeah, and then give him some space. Why is Arnold Schwarzenegger in there, and
doing cheesy one-liners?
Right, and why is Danny DeVito in there? Like, give the Penguin his own damn thing.
You don't need to pack in 50 antagonists.
Right. There's plenty of work in there, in other ways.
Yeah.
So you were talking about how you subtract things, but you got a little technical on me.
Oh, sorry.
No, that's fine. That's why I'm the host. So you talked about sound and how you don't have to do. I don't understand what you're talking about with that.
Yeah. So when you write a screenplay, we're going to say, someone fires a gun, and so as you'd write it, our hero fires the gun with a loud boom, right? And you're going to capitalize boom. Yeah, that's a cheesy way to do it, but that's how we do it. You don't even have to do that now. You just say that the superhero, the hero fires a gun.
Yeah. So there's a shorthand, and I would imagine. Tell me if I'm wrong on this. Part of that shorthand is due to we have more ready access to folio decks that have. Folio is a variety of sounds, everybody. But you have instant access to so many sounds already. Like, just let those guys, they know what the gun sounds like. They got that. Yeah,
I think that, and just newer writers coming out and slowly kind of pushing things and changing and subtracting. Because the screenwriters, our job is to take that script and put as much white space in it as possible. That's what a good script is. A good script is almost at a Spartan level of writing on it, where it's very kind of thinned out. If I look at a script and I see huge blocks of dialogue followed by giant chunks of action, I go, okay, we've got a problem, because you have to think people want to read these things quickly.
Right.
No producer who's busy hustling 24/7 wants to sit down for 4 hours and read your 146-page fan service of Lord of the Rings. No one wants to read that. They want to read a 90-page.
But the orcs. Yeah. But what about the orcs?
Then the orcs find the village, and
and they move in and they're happy. Yes. And they smoke a lot of weed.
This is the orc version of Friday.
Right.
So,
as we drive through a neighborhood that Friday could have been filmed.
Somewhat like this. So they want to read 90-page tight scripts. Their eyes should be able to dance down the page, because that is appealing when it comes to screenwriting. Whereas a novel, you don't want that. You want as much content as possible.
Something I've learned from you and from Hilliard is as a writer, there's a balance between this is my story, I'm going to tell you, and you, the actor, are going to do what I tell you to do. But you also have to give enough space so that the actor can actually act.
Absolutely.
So talk to me about that. How do you know what that balance is?
I mean, I would begin this by respecting what an actor does. I have such admiration for the bravery and skill that actors bring to their talent, to their job. I come from that perspective. So when I write dialogue, I make sure that this is juicy dialogue, that an actor's going to get this dialogue and they're just going to want to chew on it. They're going to think this is brilliant. And I'm not talking about big, long chunks of dialogue. That doesn't necessarily mean good. But I mean dialogue that is just really compelling and draws you into whatever the conflict and story is at that moment. And then working that and balancing that off of giving the actor the moment of pause and developing that cadence so that they can truly act through it. You know, you don't have to write in dialogue when two people are disagreeing. You can write in a quiet moment, and that actor can take that moment and really run with it. And then you also don't want to, and I'll speak to the screenwriters out there that know the lingo, you don't want to go crazy on your parentheticals, also called Rileys, which are this sub-heading underneath the character's name that suggests how they should deliver the line. Right. So you don't want to have a moment where it says, you know, Pete angrily yells at so-and-so.
Especially if, like, that's clear from the writing, like, the anger is the right emotion.
Yeah, it should be the intent.
If it's sarcasm, you can do that. Like, hey, I want you to change gears on what you might normally do.
Yeah, sure.
Right, okay.
Yeah,
interesting.
You can do that. Yeah, unless that's built into the character and is already suggested. You know, if you've got a sarcastic 16-year-old, then that's just how they are.
So, a Riley, huh?
Yeah, Riley. Parenthetical is the right term. But Riley actually comes from...
What's the right term for a MacGuffin? Is there an actual term de rigueur, or is it...
No, the MacGuffin is the term. That's actually a Hitchcock thing. He came up with that term. They call it the MacGuffin. Before that, people they just did it.
Yeah, they just did it.
Yeah.
And who the hell was MacGuffin, and what the fuck did he do wrong?
God, I think a MacGuffin was a guy that he worked with, but I'm not positive on that. I know that...
it's something that's nothing. MacGuffin's nothing. It's called a MacGuffin.
It's a MacGuffin. Yeah, I mean, it's just that thing or device, the key that saves the planet, the Death Star plans.
The thing that everybody's chasing. And,
yeah,
dude,
the
where's my car?
spark that doesn't really... it doesn't really matter. It's just to drive plot forward.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Driving plot forward.
Yeah.
When I think about movies that, right now I'm thinking about White Men Can't Jump. That's what I'm thinking about, quite honestly. And I can see the writing, and so the script is good enough that movie, if it's on, it's always enjoyable.
Yeah.
And it's because of Wesley Snipes and Woody Harrelson and how great they are. What's your sense? I don't know if maybe you've read the script. How much of that is just white space? And like, you two guys disagree and you start talking shit. Because half of that script is them just talking shit.
Yeah, man, I haven't seen that in a while, but and I have not read the script, but yeah, that script works because you've got two great characters that conflict with each other. And they're written like real people. So real people, people can watch that movie and someone will identify with traits about both of them.
Yeah.
And that's what makes it sell. The chemistry between Harrelson and Snipes is that added bonus that you can give props to the casting director on that.
Yeah, I think you're right. I was thinking about that very thing as we were talking, because I was thinking about that and Above the Rim, right? Mm-hmm. So if you take Wesley Snipes' character and that goofy biker hat that he has, right? And you replace that with Tupac. Not that Tupac couldn't handle the comedic role.
Yeah.
But if you take Tupac from Above the Rim, you're like, oh, fuck, that's a scary movie because he's going to kill Woody Harrelson.
Right.
And he's going to kill, like, those guys when they go to get their guns and they overreact. No, they're actually going to shoot each other in Tupac's movie, you know?
Yeah.
who makes that call on that goofy bike? That whatever that hat was a Bianchi or whatever that he had on.
There's the potential that it was written into the script already, or in costuming they just decided.
So that's not Wesley Snipes.
It could be. If you go back to a movie that came out a while ago with Vin Diesel called Pitch Black, right?
Yeah.
So I mean, I don't think his character was described as the way he looked. Mm. They gave the actors, they put him into the trailer with costumes, and they said, "Grab your character's outfit."
Yeah.
So both the guys went in there.
Cool.
Yeah, and they came out, and this is Riddick, And then the other guy came out and said, this is the Marshal. And so that was it. I actually like that you brought this up, though, because this is something that a lot of beginning writers don't or do an error, is they were overly, since screenwriting is a visual medium in written form, they will overly describe characters by what they look, misunderstanding that, thinking that they're actually describing the character. If I describe to you a guy in a t-shirt and jeans, that doesn't say anything about the character, right? So I only describe what a character looks like if it is really inherent upon how they are as a character, right? So like Captain Jack Sparrow, I might describe how he dresses, because it shows he's a worldly character, and the mismatched garb describes his mismatched personality.
Right, okay.
So actually in my character descriptions, I actually will kind of give a little bit of an idea of who they are.
That makes sense.
Punky emo kid.
Right, punky emo kid, yes. Right, yeah, and then that does give you a palette to work from. And one thing I'm hearing from you is that the things that maybe we think about as novices or non-writer writers is, you don't have to say, camera pans the crowd.
Oh yeah, you don't need camera directions.
Right, so that's so we're worried about a lot less things. So I need to know who my character is. I have to ask the questions like, why is he doing this? What does she care about? What makes them make, like, when the teenage chick is chased, the final girl. Why does she make the choice? You're like, why wouldn't you just leave? Like, you have to start to answer these questions. Like, she doesn't leave because whatever, her boyfriend's there, or she's yeah. So those are the things that you have to address much more so than cameras, camera angles and sounds, and
I wouldn't worry about any of that.
Describing the scene. The curtains are dusty.
I mean, to be honest with you, when you put in camera directions like that, or if you use the words like "we see," for instance, you'll hear a lot of "we see," "we hear." Yeah, you do that. And then you throw in camera directions like panning or cut tos. There's like a lot of cut tos that new writers will do. Right. All of that screams amateur. Right. And, you could have a killer script that just needs a little bit of reworking from that angle, and no one will read it. Yeah. The only people that can get away with cut twos and the we sees and that stuff are writer-directors. Yeah. Because they're making their own thing. Oh, that's good. And a lot of the time, you can get free scripts online. Yeah. Most scripts are available online. You can read them. Yeah, you can get them on like Scriptfly and... Yeah. I read Smokey and the Bandit, and it was hilarious. Was it? Oh, it was so good. That's awesome. Yeah. So you can read the scripts, but a lot of the scripts are by writer-directors, right? Mm-hmm. So when you go on there, it's got camera directions, and so this beginner writer thinks, oh, that's what I can do. Right. And they don't realize, like, no, they don't see me like crossing my arms, waving them to stop. No, don't do it. Yeah, and save again, yourself, run. Yeah, save yourself, but also save yourself the work too. Man. Like, you don't have to figure all that out. Just get the very essence, the Spartan version of your story. Get those 27 points. That's cool. I want to ask you about a guy like M. Night Shyamalan. Sure. I often say Shyamalan Ding Dong. Shyamalan. Yeah. Shyamalan. So he comes out like a monster with Sixth Sense, and it's still a great movie. Even though when the twist is known already, it's great. But every movie since then seems to just be lesser and lesser and lesser and lesser. What? Obviously, that guy knows how to write a good movie. I mean, you can't blame him for Airbender crashing, because he tried to take a movie of like 3 seasons. Yeah. Or a TV show of 3 seasons, throw it into like, Did you see The Village? Did you see that nonsense? I saw The Village. That was a Scooby-Doo episode. I'm not going to lie with you. I liked the atmosphere of the village.
Okay.
Was it a giveaway that they lived in the future? I mean, a bit of it. But I just thought Bryce Dallas Howard brought it, and I was in love with her performance.
Mhm.
But I can totally see where you're coming from, because it's that one and the other one with Paul Giamatti, where it was a lady in the water. You know, that was a big crash as well.
Is so okay? And I don't. I'm being critical of M. Night, and that's not fair because he's not here to talk about it. But I don't enjoy his movies, and I want to. So I'm trying to understand where, like, his taste and my taste just don't line up. And I think that a lot of people share my view. But like in The Village or in Signs or in, gosh, Unbreakable, it's so easy to do.
I think the thing is, because I have a lot of respect for the guy.
Yeah.
I think if you took Lady in the Water or The Village and it came out before The Sixth Sense, I think people would have enjoyed them.
Right.
They wouldn't.
Okay.
I don't believe they would have been panned as critically. But when you bring out something like The Sixth Sense, and let's be honest, The Sixth Sense is almost like a Jacob's Ladder type of remake.
Yeah.
But when you bring out something groundbreaking and beautiful like that, how do you top it?
No, you don't.
You know?
You don't. But when you do Unbreakable, that's what it's called, right? With Bruce Willis?
I liked Unbreakable.
Okay, I did too. But when you see I liked it 80% as much as I liked Sixth Sense. And that was like just tolerable, right? But when you see the outtakes and you see all the realization stuff that they cut from the movie, where Bruce Willis is like, oh shit, I have all the weights in the gym on this bar.
Yeah.
Like, we needed that because I did not care, but he was just too sullen and rainy and dreary. I'm like,
right.
Wait, will you show me this guy freaking? How could you not freak the fuck out if you were this lowly guy who all of a sudden realizes he can lift all of the weights? Like, I needed that, and because I didn't get it, I couldn't enjoy the film, you know.
Interesting. You need that extra moment of humanity, and they weren't really providing
when
it.
Ralph Hinckley figures out stuff on The Greatest American Hero or doesn't,
yeah,
that's gold. That's awesome. Him flying all goofy, you're like, oh, that's hilarious. Yeah, how would you know how to fly if you didn't have the instruction manual?
I mean, I think that you've got a valid point, and I'm not sure if they cut it because they thought it was slogging down the pace of the film. Because there's a lot of silent moments in that film. There's a lot of introspection, you know, where you see characters and thought.
Oh, I thought Bruce Willis was getting paid by the word. That's a joke.
That's so funny.
But I needed more from him so that when we get the big reveal, that I have something to care about. I'm like, well, yeah, okay, great. You're this mastermind, but who cares? You know,
how did you feel about Split?
Wait, which one was Split?
Split was James McAvoy, and that was Shyamalan's latest.
I gave up on his movies.
Oh, you did?
I can't do them.
I'm going to say that you should watch Split.
Okay, I will. And I'll tell you what made me give up. When I was watching The Village, and
I can understand
and
that.
I'm like, if this becomes a fucking Scooby-Doo episode, I'm going to be pissed. And when it did, I'm like, that's it,
And he literally pulls the mask off.
Oh,
that's awesome.
Yeah, just tell me it's Scooby-Doo and get a Great Dane to be in the movie instead of paying for Adrian Brody or whoever else, you know, is in the movie.
Man.
It's hard. But look, I also huge respect for the guy that gets Hollywood to continue to back movies that I continue to not like. So look, I'm not that smart.
And that's not. No, actually, after Lady in the Water, and then he did that one with the wind was killing people. That was a B movie. Yeah, we got to run from the wind. I've never met the man that could run from a wind.
Yeah, that's pretty fast.
You know, so after that movie, I mean, he was done getting work. He had to go to TV.
Yeah.
And he went to television and did Wayward Pines.
Yeah.
And then Wayward Pines was a hit. And that rejuvenated his career. And then he came out with Split, and now he's back on the A track.
I want to move on to a different director. That
I know a lot about him.
Me. Yeah.
I can even tell you his writing process.
No, and I would love to hear that. One thing I want to understand better, and I have a problem with J.J. Abrams, and I know that's crazy to say that, but here's one of the reasons why.
Lens flares.
No, I'm going to start with Alias. Alias was great. I was watching that in Iraq, and I was behind a couple of years because I work when I go over there, right? But I'm binge watching it, and they get like this whole multi-seasonal arc with whatever his name was, the Italian inventor guy, and they get the stupid giant water balloon in the room. I don't know if you remember this at all, but there's this giant water balloon in the room, and it of course ruptures. And Jennifer Garner's character is running down the hallway, and the water is chasing them and splashing down, and it's gonna get them. And like she can get through the door, but guess what happens? The boyfriend can't make it through the door, and the water comes and drowns him. And I'm like, boy, this is a whole building. You had the giant water, and the water balloons, let's say it's 40 feet round. It's huge, but it's not going to fill up hallways.
But we need it to for dramatic effect.
Completely impossible. Like the leap is just too far. So there's that, and I'm like, oh boy. And then I watch the Star Wars movies, and I understand and I want to ask you about homages and stuff separately. So let me come back to that.
Yeah.
Don't you have someone in the production team that goes, hey, fuckhead, first off, you don't have to land the Enterprise in the water. There's no sense in that. It's never done that. And we can beam shit places.
I just want to say right now that you've completely enraged half of the Star Trek fans and half the Star Wars fans.
No, that's fine.
Because you said Star Wars, but then you're saying the Enterprise.
Well, but
which is Star Trek.
He did Star Trek, though.
Okay. So we're talking about Star Trek again.
Yeah.
I thought we shifted to Star Wars.
No, we didn't shift to Star Wars yet.
Because right now there's fans fighting, there's fist fights.
Yeah, I love both storylines. We're talking specifically at Star Trek. But when did the Enterprise ever land in the ocean? Like, they have the Prime Directive.
Yeah.
Which apparently in J.J. Abrams' world they don't give a fuck about.
Oh no, dude, he did basically a reboot of everything, right? He just did his own thing.
But why, if you can beam things, why do you put Spock inside of a volcano? At least, if you're gonna do that, right, as a screenwriter,
it's just a visual medium.
Tell me why.
Why? Well, I would count the money that I was paid to put a guy in a volcano.
Yeah,
I'd start there.
Well, yeah. It just seems crazy to me to do something that's so obvious.
They're just taking it to 11. That's all they're doing.
Yeah.
This is a big Hollywood movie with a lot of money going behind it.
Right.
And they're not going to want to go subtle.
Yeah.
They want to go big everything. And that's really what it is. If I get hired to write a big Hollywood movie tomorrow, I'm dialing everything up to 11. And everything's going to have to be end of the world level conflict. Because it's a $500 million movie, and that's all there is to it.
Right.
Yeah, that's what it comes down. Now, if you take the budget from that they had for Enterprise and you cut it down to $10 million, we don't have a big lava scene anymore. Not because we don't have the money for the special effects, but we don't need to go that big.
But why even end up in that zone in the first place? Why not go? Wait, why doesn't someone in the writers' room go? They have the ability to particle beam things anywhere, and why is this ship underwater? We've never established anywhere in the Star Trek universe that this thing's watertight, and why wouldn't they just be in space where they normally are?
I really, I'm going to be honest with you, I don't think that voice is in the room, because I don't think they want that voice in the room.
Yeah, because you can still, the model's set, right?
Yeah.
You're in space, you beam down.
They want the writer in the room that is going to go as big and as crazy as possible, and hopefully can throw in some characterization along the way.
That's fair.
Yeah.
They have a budget, and they're going to spend it, and they want to do things.
Yeah.
So, homages, right?
Okay.
Star Trek had a ton of them. I'm like, here comes the Spock shot. Oh, here comes when he goes, Khan! Like, oh, come on. Seriously, Khan? Oh, come on.
From Spock.
Right. Just the whole thing is crazy.
They switched it up.
Ghostbusters. You do the subtle nod to Harold Ramis, but then there's this one, and then there's this one, and there's Slimer, and it's cool, but
they got to do the fan service.
Okay.
Don't you think? I mean, I kind of feel they do, because if they don't do the fan service, then you're going to have people complaining.
But where does it stop then, and when does it become too much? Because like Slimer, great. And Harold Ramis, absolutely fantastic. I wanted to see his face there. It's a good way to acknowledge his presence. When does it stop? Like, just The Spock shot comes
when is
out,
it
and
too
just-
much?
yeah,
I
when is
think
it
it's too much when the audience starts noticing it consciously. I
Right.
mean, these things should all be, I
Yeah.
feel subconscious little litter bugs in there, like the Marvel Universe does. If
Yeah.
you look at the first Guardians of the Galaxy,
Okay.
it's full of homages from the comic books.
Right.
But they're subtle.
Yeah.
They're so subtle.
Do you remember the movie Creepshow?
Oh yeah, man, that's old school.
So they had a running theme through all the vignettes. They had this little like statue that could be an ashtray. It could be the thing you brain somebody with. Do you recall this at all?
I think, was it silver?
Silver, green. I remember it as being green, but easily could be silver.
Yeah.
But it was a thing. It was in every.
It linked all the stories.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. What about a device like that? Like this, is that stuff? Is that just too gimmicky to be useful? Or?
You know, you can. I think of the old movie with James Woods called Cat's Eye, which had the cat in each one of the little mini stories of the story that linked all of them together. I mean, I think that worked.
Right.
But I mean, do you have to do something like that? I don't think so. I think there's, the Marvel Universe come out with the MCU, right? The all-encompassing, connecting all the movies together, which is just so brilliant. That DC jumped on it, but no, everyone feels they have to do it.
Right.
And connect things together. And you've got like Universal's been trying to do it for the past 12 years. That latest one they had with The Mummy, that bombed to the point of where they canceled all of their other movies.
Yeah, it bombed terribly. How come Anne Rice doesn't get her movies made into books made into movies anymore? I mean, they made that stupid East of Eden one where they completely dicked up what the book was about and had Dan Aykroyd. It was terrible.
Well, I know they did the last one with that hip hop star that died in the plane crash.
Yeah, she was alive back then.
Yeah,
that's how long.
Yeah, that was a while ago. That was Aaliyah.
Yeah, Queen of the Damned.
Yeah, so they did that one, and then I don't think it had a very big draw.
She had a pretty cool mummy story as well. That was there. As a writer, when you're reading things, because you have to constantly consume not only screenplays, but you're reading all kinds of things.
Yeah, it's all the time.
Where do you go for inspiration when you're like, I need to change things up?
If you hit writer's block or something,
just in general, like as you're filling the tank and you're like, I'm reading too much GQ or whatever it's going to be. I want to like if your go-to source is science fiction.
For me it's traveling.
Okay.
As writers, we need to further our experiences in life in order to draw upon new devices to feed our stories. In order to do that, you have to have life experience. So you can do it naturally just by going on vacations and traveling around. I've been fortunate enough that my screenwriting has taken me, from, LA to London.
Right.
So I've had plenty of really cool experiences that I can draw on, and I hope to have more. But if I pick up a gig and they want something specific, and I've never seen it before, I do research on it, read about it like crazy, then I interview someone that's in that field, so I'll do that as well. So, for instance, I wrote a script about a detective, so I called up a bunch of detectives, and here's the great thing as a screenwriter. If you tell somebody you're a screenwriter and you offer to bring them lunch, they will talk to you.
Yeah.
they'll be a complete stranger. This
is an absolute theme for everything in life. Like there's something you want to find out about, you grab a mentor, you grab somebody who can guide you towards the answers that you need. And just simply saying your opinion, your expertise is interesting to me. I'd love to talk to you. Think about if someone came to you, whatever it is that you do. Let's say you do accounting at a company. What's more boring than that, right?
Yeah.
In your head. But then you someone comes and says, "Man, I'd love to pick your brain about accounting and how it matters in a company's growth." How can you say no to that?
Yeah.
You're right. Approaching people and talking to them. Hey, don't forget, we're talking to Geoff D Calhoun, who is the founder of WeFixYourScript.com. He will help you take your screenplay idea and further you along in the process. I mean, if you want him to write the thing, yeah, he'll gladly take his time and help you do it. That, of course, costs money. But also, what I really want you guys to get is just two simple things. One, Geoff has a free 15-minute consultation. You have an idea, you want to start talking about it, get an idea of where like the work is going to be. Geoff will absolutely make time with you and talk, and you can start on your way. You want to do this yourself, you want to get some help, he can handle all of those things. And this is really fantastic. I'm writing a script right now. I've got a lot of the ideas in my head now. I've got to start transposing them onto paper. So I'm doing this process. Hey, do it with me. I've already put a challenge out on Twitter, kind of like a fat challenge. Like,
is that right?
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Who wants to lose 20 pounds? I'm like, who wants to write a screenplay starting December 1st? Yeah. So, and if you've got one, but you just don't have the money, you don't have the time, you don't have the wherewithal, that's great. Tell the people that you know. This is how you support the show, because Geoff is great to help us out, to help bring you all the great content that we bring. Take time to say, hey, you cousin are trying to get into this thing, you ought to talk to Geoff. And just tell people about the service, because it makes a difference. And gosh, you know what? Here's the thing. And I mean this 100%, Geoff. You lower the bar. You make creating more accessible.
Oh, that's good. Thank you.
I mean, it's here's steps. Here's what I need. You and I talked a little bit about strategic thought versus tactical, and I'm actually working on building a show about this very concept. But the thing is that I've realized is that people think about strategy and outcomes, but the tactics, they beguile us. It's like, what do we do? And
it can be overwhelming.
Yeah, so you're able to take and create tactical approaches to these problems. Like, don't write the whole story right now.
No.
Break it into 27 pieces. Take those pieces, break them into pieces, you know, and just start writing. Make sure that you're creating an the serial podcasts are great at this. In this episode, we're going to create these two emotions, or three or whatever. And then they transition out with music and they start on a new emotion and they take you left, they take you right. Do you believe? Do you change your mind? Like, all these things are done by the great writing that they do. Your ability to take and make that stuff bite-sized gives me the confidence that I can bite these little bites.
Well, I got to tell you, when I first started writing, I didn't have a mentor at first. I just had books, and I had really old books at that, and started figuring it out. And then when I started getting feedback from quote-unquote professionals, it was rough. The feedback in the industry that you can get, it's quite negative and harsh. I've had writers come up to me and share their stories, which were just like mine, where you'll get coverage from someone and notes, and they'll tell you, throw this out, it's terrible, you're never going to make it, why are you bothered, you're wasting your time.
Yes.
Like, these are standard notes from people that you paid for, and as for me, having to struggle and get through it and grow and become successful, I decided, you know what, I need to give back. I need to help my fellow writers and give them that support that they need. So I founded this company, and I brought in other writers that share the same ideology I do, that are out here to give notes and coverage and feedback, to guide you almost as a mentor.
Yeah.
Where to go and to save you from the heartache that I had to go through, and hopefully get you on that path. Because, whether you can admit it or not, if you start writing a screenplay, you are a screenwriter.
Right.
You don't have to sell it. You don't even have to option. You are still a screenwriter. You can look at yourself in the mirror and say, I'm a screenwriter, and I want to help make you the best you can be at it.
Yeah, no, that's fantastic. It's the same thing with chef. At some point, you get to say, I cook. I'm a chef, but it does take work. The thing about Hollywood and about the craft of storytelling and all these things, one, a lot of people have a gig that they love, and so they have a high standard, but what they lack is the ability to see where you're at versus where they're at. And so it's going to be normal for them to beat on you and say, you'll never get there.
Well, the other thing they want to do is they look through a narrow lens. So they will say they want to they'll find holes in your story. Instead of helping you and guiding you and showing you how to improve it, they just want to make it their story.
Yeah.
And who wants that kind of help? I don't want to write your story. I want to write my story, but I have problems.
Right.
And so we will help you write your story with your voice. Yeah.
This is the thing too, and if you feel like I really have this bug, I think, and I really need to get after it, nothing that we do is going to be easy. It's all work, and you don't know what you need to know. And when you look back, be like, I never would have picked this path, and the only way to get on that path is to get to walking.
Yeah.
So you guys are like, yeah, keep walking. Here's work you can do where your story needs improvement. It's not you'll never make it. It's not like you can't do this. It's like, here's the work.
It's the total opposite. I had a client that just wrote us actually last week, thanking us for help because they won 2 awards already after they used our service. I mean, that feels great.
Yeah, I mean, this stuff does work, but the word work is the theme. Like, Geoff and his crew can help. They can point the areas out, but you're going to have to put in time.
Yeah, you got to do it.
And there's no way to get good at something like at this level. Anything, whether it's welding or something else, you cannot get good at these things without spending a little bit of money and a little bit of time and being frustrated and growing. That's what it takes to grow. So I appreciate you creating this script with me.
Oh, sure.
And having this conversation. We're about to hit the Griffith Observatory. Have you ever been up to the top of the Griffith Observatory before?
I was up here one time. Yeah. And it is just... It is cool.
It's spectacular.
Yeah.
And for those of you who don't know, it's the place where they've shot at least 20 movies. And it's just such a beautiful place. I thought it's apropos for us to end our script chat talking about it from a place that's among the most shot places in the world, really.
Yeah.
It's just such an incredible thing. And I really do, and I mean this, and I know I'm speaking for John and Mark who aren't here, but I know exactly where their hearts are in this stuff. We do love you guys. We talk to you.
Yeah.
All of you different people out there that are listening and are going to listen in the years and months that this thing's still up. I absolutely encourage you to grab the keys and start typing, and start with one letter. And if that works, write a couple of words. And if you ever get writer's block, just lower the bar. Can I write one word right now that contributes to my story? Even if that word gets erased later on, can you continue to contribute? You will, before you know it, you will have something created that you can be proud of. And that's what I hope for everybody, is that you all get out there, create. Geoff will give you 15 minutes of his time. WeFixedYourScript.com. He will absolutely, I promise. You let me know the second he doesn't do it. I'm not going to ever get a phone call. But Geoff is great. Geoff is a righteous guy. I've spent the whole day with him, and it's been nothing but pleasant. And I put him up in the family trailer so he had a place to stay.
That's funny.
This is what we do. I mean, we help each other out.
He's not lying.
No, I'm not.
It's a cozy little thing.
Yeah, I don't have a reason to lie because I really do believe in what you do. I believe in the human enriching life value of creating something. We all did it and loved doing it when we were small. Who on earth says, yeah, okay, great, you're an engineer and you hate your job. So enrich yourself in other areas,
Well, I gotta tell you that we love being part of the show. We love what you guys do. You're earnest, you're intelligent, and you really care about everybody. And it's hard to find that. So we're glad to sponsor it.